Welcome back to the GED Toolbox. This lesson is all about adding and subtracting fractions using multiplication. Yes, you heard me right. We're going to multiply in order to add and subtract fractions. Now, if you've never seen this method before, you're in for a good surprise because this is going to make quick and easy work of adding and subtracting fractions without finding a common denominator and changing your numerators. Let's see how this works. Let's take an example fraction of 3/4 plus 1/6. That's a good example problem. What I'm going to do next is going to be the surprising part. I'm going to cross multiply here. 6 times 3 is 18. That becomes one of my new numerators. 4 times 1 is 4. That's the other new numerator. My math operation is still addition, but in the denominator world, it becomes multiplication. Let's see what we come up with. 18 plus 4 is 22, and 4 times 6 is 24. Perfect. Not a perfect fraction, though. I need to reduce that. I'm going to divide both of those both the numerator and denominator by 2, and I'm going to get 11 over 12. That's my reduced fraction, down to its lowest terms. It's absolutely perfect, and it took me almost no time to do it. Let's see how this works with subtraction. I'm going to take my same little practice fraction here, or fractions, 3/4 minus 1/6. Let's see what happens with that. Watch the process. It's exactly the same. 6 times 3 is 18. That becomes the new numerator. 4 times 1 is 4. Another new numerator. This time my math operation with the numerators is subtraction, but with the denominators it is still multiplication. My denominator is 24. My new numerator is 14. Perfect, except it needs some reducing. I'm again going to use 2 to divide both numerator and denominator, and I come up with 7 over 12, and that's as low as it goes. That took almost no time. Now I might make a point here of sharing with you that when you multiply these two denominators together and get 24, 24 has the factors of the old denominators. So that's something similar and familiar with finding denominators, a common denominator with the former process. But with this new process, it just sort of happens magically. Let's go over this one more time just to be sure it's clear in our head, and then we'll move on. This time we're going to take 3/5 plus 2/7. The process, exactly the same. I'm going to multiply 7 and 3, cross multiply, and get 21. That becomes a new numerator. 5 times 2 becomes 10, another new numerator. And I'm just going to add those guys together. I'm going to multiply my denominators. And this is what I come up with, 31 over 35. And that's as low as I can go. So it's a perfectly legitimate fraction. Perfect. Let's subtract one more time, and we can even use these same little practice fractions. 3/5 minus 2/7. Same process. Multiply 7 times 3, get 21. Multiply 5 and 2, get 10. Those become new numerators, and we're going to subtract this time and still multiply those denominators. 21 minus 10 becomes 11, and 5 times 7 is still 35. And again, we come up with a fraction that's very good. We don't have to reduce it. I love this method. I think it's so quick and easy. But when I first learned it, I wondered what would happen with a fraction that looked like this. 2 minus 4/5. You know how those are. you have to borrow from the 2 and get 5/5, and then you subtract. Well, watch what I do with the multiplication method. I change my fraction of 2, which my whole number 2, make it look like a fraction, and I subtract 4/5. The operation, precisely the same. Cross multiply, I get 10. Cross multiply, I get 4. And I simply subtract. Multiply this, of course, and I get 6/5. Wait a minute, you say. That's an improper fraction. I'm going to lay it down on its side, so the 5 is here, the 6 is here, and I'll put the 6 in the division box. It goes one time with 1 left over. That becomes 1/5, because that's still my denominator. So my answer is 1 1/5. Not too hard. But what about if you had a fraction that looked like this? 3 1/4 minus 1/2. I'm going to have to find a common denominator. I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to have to do a lot of things with the normal method of changing the denominators. But watch what I do with the multiplication one. I'm going to have 3 1/4, but I'm going to quickly change that into an improper fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13/4, and then 1/2 remains 1/2, and I'm going to do the same process. 2 times 13 is 26, new numerator. 1 times 4 is 4, new numerator. Multiply those denominators, and voila, I've got 26 minus 4 becomes 22/8. Yes, it's improper. Lay it down on its side so the 22 is here in the division box and the 8 is here. And I learned that I can go in there 2 times with 16 with a remainder of 6. And that becomes 6/8. Correct? Yes, I'm almost done. I can reduce this guy some more. Divide both by 2, and I get 3/4. So my answer becomes 2 3/4. Perfect. With a few fewer steps. So that's something that is going to be really good in the heat of battle when you're on a math test. It's not a bad plan to keep in the back of your mind how you find common denominators, but this method certainly makes quick work of everything. I appreciate you stopping by the GED Toolbox today, and I hope you found something here that was helpful. Keep working hard on that math and getting ready for that GED test. Thanks for stopping by.